Good morning, it's April 23rd, and this is To My Liberal Friends. Democrats seem to be bipolar when it comes to the Supreme Court and our judicial system. When the court makes a decision they like, they're jubilant, and they talk about obeying the rule of law. Case in point is the botched immigration action by the Trump administration of Abrego Garcia. The administration admits that he was wrongly swept up by ICE and shipped off to El Salvador. The court ruled they should bring him back. The administration balks at this and points out that Garcia was in the country illegally, never claimed any form of asylum until he was caught some years later. He was referred to as what is a getaway at the border and has a dubious history of activity. Now, before I go any further, I would say the administration should bring him back to Texas, immediately put him in front of an immigration judge with his lawyers present, hear his case, and if it's found wanting, which more than likely it would, then order him deported. Now, Democrats have pounced on this case and initially defended Garcia as, quote, a Maryland man, a husband, and a father. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democratic senator from Maryland, went to El Salvador to meet with Garcia. He returned and made the rounds of the Sunday talk shows, but his message somewhat pivoted. He's not dumb. He could read the polling, and he quit defending Garcia as an individual, but rather defended the rule of law. His message was subtle, but allowed him to move off defending someone that multiple judges had found reasonable cause that he was a bad actor. An immigration judge granted him a withholding of removal status based on Garcia's claim that he was in danger if he went back to El Salvador, but he could be deported to some other country. So why the change by Senator Van Hollen? Because he has read the reports about Garcia. In March of 2019, he and 3 other men were arrested in Hyattsville, Maryland. Multiple police detectives in Maryland, the same state as Van Hollen, interviewed him and determined that there was reasonable belief that Garcia was in fact a member of MS-13, a criminal gang that's been labeled as a terrorist group. All of the men arrested, according to the officers, displayed traits associated with MS-13 gang culture. They also had information from a trusted informant that Garcia was in fact a member of MS-13. 2 judges agreed with this information. Later, Judge David M. Jones issued a removal order for any place but El Salvador. Garcia's own lawyers have said if Garcia had been deported to another country, they wouldn't have a case. One other point should be made in the Garcia case. In 2022, he was stopped by Tennessee Highway Patrol for speeding and changing lanes. In the vehicle were 8 other men. Garcia claimed they were construction workers and he was just transporting them from Texas to Maryland. Garcia's driver's license was expired. None of the men had any luggage, so it begs the question of where they came from and where they were going. Tennessee Highway Patrol suspected he was trafficking. All of this information has caused Senator Van Hollen to pivot, and he's now defending the rule of law and citing the Supreme Court's order to return Garcia. But Democrats have pounced on this case in their continual drumbeat about democracy. One of the loudest voices, which should have come as a surprise, is Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. She's demanding that the rule of law be adhered to and championing the decision by the Supreme Court. But wait a minute. This is the same Elizabeth Warren who's been calling the court illegitimate for a long time. Of course, it is because it has a conservative majority, so that makes it illegitimate in her eyes. In 2022, she said, quote, "The Supreme Court has burned whatever legitimacy they may have still had with their ruling last week overturning Roe v. Wade," end quote. She followed it up with a statement saying, quote, "I don't think that people should trust the court. Understand where we are now," end quote. Then we have the group of House Democrats who flew down to El Salvador to see Mr. Garcia. They've also changed their tune and said they're only defending the rule of law. But which law are they defending? How about when someone crossed the border illegally? In Mr. Garcia's case, he avoided detection for a long time. Are they defending the rule of law then? This is the dilemma the Democrats find themselves. They denounce the court when it makes a decision they do not like. They march to the steps of the Supreme Court, announce we're coming for you. They praise protesters who show up at conservative justice homes. So you have to ask yourself if you think the Democrats are really interested in the rule of law and due process, or are they just trying to create a political issue to campaign on? I suspect it's the latter, which is why I urge the administration to pull the rug out from under them by bringing Garcia back, putting him before an immigration judge. The Democrats would have to actually defend Garcia himself, and if he's ordered deported, they will once again turn their wrath on the judicial system, thus showing their true colors. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.